are, I can get them. Oh, yeah, just bring that one. Maybe that more seasons on that. Good evening.
Saturday, they just got dry. I think I just had to stay there.
Mario, extra paper copy. Yeah, maybe. This is, I've got 6% left, so what we think it's gonna last. No, it's done. I can use my phone. You know what? I can do it on my phone.
So she's pretty loud to make those ones.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, wow.
I like having some
I have mine, but I don't get some books like that, so.
I can share with you.
I'll share with you.
I gave her.
Here.
You don't need it?
No, I'll share with Liz.
Okay, thanks.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, so go ahead and get going. Welcome to the February special Valentine's Day edition of the South Bend Board meeting. First things first, let's stand and say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we call the meeting to order. Mario, if you would take roll.
Brian Bagwell,
Here.
Elizabeth Johnson,
Here.
Terry Lally,
Here.
Amy White,
Here.
Shelley Kluge.
Here.
And first, we have the approval of the minutes from the organizational and the regular meetings on January 10th. Can you approve those last time or no?
No.
Okay.
And then a special meeting on the
So we need a motion. Are there any questions or adjustments to make to the minutes from those meetings?
I motion.
Terry motions.
Second.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now on to the treasurer report.
Yes, the reports we provided was a cash reconciliation, the cash summary report, the revenue summary, the disbursement report, and appropriation summary. If you guys have any questions throughout any of those reports, just let me know. Just the total fund balance on the general fund at the end of January was approximately 3.7 million, and the total of all funds was roughly 4.9 million. I submitted the resolution to the county auditor to start getting cash, the tax advances. That should start coming in around February 18th. And then just about the new funding formula, in January they started, the foundation statement started to reflect the new formula. I reached out to the one treasurer I know that was part of the committee that helped pass that formula. He's going to kind of look at our district to kind of get a better understanding since he was an integral part of getting it passed. I know the one, as I mentioned before, the major change is instead of funding districts based on kids, where kids reside, they're going to fund you based on the kids you educate. So instead of having all those transfers and for open enrollment, community school, any of those scholarship transfers, those schools will be funded directly and the school district will be funded for just your kids you educate. So I have to get more information on how those numbers look, but I know they said every district will not get less than they received in fiscal year 20 net before the governor reduced funding because of the COVID pandemic. So they went back to before the funding got cut and to any net of transfers, and I did review our numbers, and so far we are getting at least that amount. So we are not receiving less than what they projected us at this point. But as I get more information, I'll fill you guys in on the phone. I think that was it. So if you guys have any other questions?
If there's no other questions for the treasurer report, if I could have a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Amy moves.
Second.
Second. Shelley seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And on to the new business.
Okay, we're gonna start first, Mr. Farren, I see you walked in, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, in the athletic field we have right now, winter sports wrapping up. We're starting tournament time, and spring sports start in a week from now. That's about it. Oh, wait, hold on. There's just one little thing right here that I would like to mention. I know two of you were out there this weekend. Our wrestling team won the state duels championship, state champions. We had a huge crowd here yesterday as far as our welcome back celebration for them. I can tell you, it was not only followed well out there and exciting out there. We had our 7th and 8th grade tournaments here for our girls basketball team. And I can honestly tell you, there was probably as many people at all the TVs in the building as there was in the games going on. I'm probably gonna get yelled at a little bit because when Christopher pinned the kid in the finals, I went running through the cafeteria yelling, and it was another girls' basketball game, but it's exciting. I mean, these kids worked their butts off, and I mean, their semifinal match came down to the last two matches. We got 2 pins. The finals match came down, and it was one of those things. We're sitting there, we're calculating everything, and I'm like, okay, if we get 2, if we get 1 win, if we get this, and it didn't matter. I mean, Terry, your son didn't even have to go out. We did get penalized a point. I was wrong on my Twitter page that it wasn't 39-33, it was 38-33 because they penalized us a point for celebrating that we just won the state championship. So be it, whatever it is. Those kids worked their butts off all year long, not just this weekend. They have a huge match. I'm going to tell you, our kids, our parents are so proud of them. And basically in less than a 24-hour period of announcing, hey, we're doing these t-shirt sales. You get t-shirts and a ticket for the wrestling match senior night on Thursday. We sold 150 shirts in less than 24 hours. I'm expecting anywhere between 400 and 500 people here for the match on Thursday, just because that is almost a match like the state finals match was with Rootstown, because one of the teams that qualified for the state duels, Rootstown just beat last week. So it's going to be a great match. If you guys haven't been to a wrestling match, come out and watch it. I mean, it is exciting. So, I don't know what to say. It's the second one. We now have 5 of those big trophies in the trophy case. Only 2 of them are gold though. So, all of our sports are starting that winter tournament run. Our swimming team, we had more swimmers than expected that are now going on to our regional level. Girls basketball open up here on Wednesday night. Boys basketball opens next week. And then the next weekend, our wrestlers are going, and they're starting their individual state tournament at that point. So it's really exciting. I mean, and like I said, if you would have seen the place, not even out in Versailles, but if you would have seen the place here on Saturday when we won it, it was very, very exciting. So that is all for sports.
Thank you. Mr. Rowan, do you have anything?
No, thanks for bringing the student.
Okay.
Sure, I will. And good evening, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. Some info from the elementary. First, going back to October, with our 3rd graders, they had their first shot at the Ohio State test back in October, and we receive our results in December. We get the parent reports in January, and we sent those home. And this year, we have a very large 3rd grade group. We have 103 students who took the test. 74% of those students met the 3rd grade guarantee on their first try, which is pretty impressive. It's their first time really ever taking a standardized test like that. the county gave us some data. There were 15 schools that reported how they did, and we were the third highest of all of those 15 schools with that percentage. So just congratulations to the boys and girls working very hard. We had 56% that were proficient or higher, so they scored 700 or better on their first try, which is very consistent with how we normally do. Sometimes we've been a little higher, sometimes a little lower. So still, you know, even with how the last couple of years have been, we're staying consistent with how our students are performing. After we received the results, Mrs. Carlson and I sat and talked, and we talked to our teachers, and there was some interest in putting together a 3rd and 4th grade test prep program. So we have 4 teachers right now, Mrs. Martz and Mrs. Armbrecht, they're doing our 3rd grade program, and then Mrs. A and Mrs. Brancaccio are running the 4th grade program. So throughout February and March, 2 days a week, we have 36 3rd graders who come in and 22 4th graders who are taking part in that program. So a lot of, you know, old release tests that are out there that they're going through and dissecting the tests and going over vocabulary that sometimes, you know, they get stumped on some of those words. So, you know, helping them to know what to do when we get to the spring. So that program will run right up to through the end of March when we do start all of our state tests. So far that's going very well. Our Title I staff right now is putting together our Right to Read Week, which will be March 14th through the 18th. So we're happy this year we can bring our guest readers back in, so hopefully some of our board members will be able to come in and read in our classrooms. We'll have staff members from the middle school and high school there, also from the board office. It's a Dr. Seuss theme again this year, so again just want to thank Mrs. Koulianis, Mrs. Wingler, and Ms. Malenik for organizing our Right to Read Week. This year in our building, as part of our PBIS program, all of our staff was trained in the PACS program, which PACS is a Latin word meaning peace, productivity, health, and happiness. And so we started off this year creating a school-wide vision for things we want to see more of and things we want to see less of. Our classrooms all have their own classroom vision that the teachers refer back to often throughout the day. And they do a lot of little things with PACS. There's a good behavior game they play in the classroom. The students work in little mini teams, and if each team is a winner, they get to pick a mini prize from Granny's Wacky Prize Bag. And it's just a fun little thing that they do in the classroom, just promoting positive behavior. And so throughout the school, there's posters and things that we talk about, like their PACS Voices, PACS Quiet. We recognize a student every month in each classroom as a PACS leader, and they get to come down and meet with myself and Mrs. Maynard, and they get a little prize for that. And it's going very well. So we're hoping to just keep continuing with that over the next several years. And then the last thing tonight, just want to recognize our PTO. They've had to adjust quite a bit over the last couple years, and now with things getting back to normal, at the end of last week, we had our last party of the year with Valentine's Day. We were able to have our Halloween party and Christmas party this year with parent volunteers back in the classroom, which has been great. They had their auction back in November, and as always, they raise over $20,000, and all that money goes right back for our boys and girls and for our teachers for things they need in the classroom. So it's a lot of work, and just a big thank you to them. Right now, they're preparing for Spring Fling, which is March 5th, and then Field Day at the end of the year. So again, just a big thank you to PTO, and from just everyone on the elementary staff, thanking them for how they support everything that we do. That's the elementary good news.
Mr. Zoll?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. This comes from Mrs. Stafford, Mrs. Rakita. They are our, coaches, supervisors for Power of the Pen. We want to congratulate our 7th and 8th grade Power of the Pen writers. They participated in the district tournament. 8th grade placed 3rd. The 7th grade team came in 5th place. Natalia Chadbourne, Gia Guerreri, Ashley Kirsten, Callie Shad, Ella Bell Castro, Ruby Cleveley, Steve DeMuzio, and Adeline Sell will be going to compete at regionals on February 26th. And special recognition goes out to Natalia Chadbourne for placing 4th and Callie Shaw for placing 11th out of 58 riders. Since it's been a while since we shared out, on January 7th, we had our annual spelling bee. We recognized 3 place winners. Our 3rd place finisher was Olivia Tranovich. She's a 5th grader. 2nd place was Ruby Cleveley. Ruby is in 6th? 7th? And then 1st place went to Jack Lynch. Jack is also a 5th grader, so he'll represent South Range in the WFMJ Spelling Bee. That will be held in March at Youngstown State. So congratulations to all of our participants. And also, we'd like to thank our middle school PTO for sponsoring the prizes for our place winners. On January 25th, our 6th grade staff and students took advantage of our significant snow, the comfortable temperatures, and the fact that the 2022 is a Winter Olympics year by having their very own Snow Olympics. The events included a snowman building contest, a sled riding race, and a snowball relay. The day concluded with hot chocolate and cookies from our food services staff. Some of you might remember last year at about this time, I informed the board that our 6th graders were beginning a recycling project in which they would be collecting plastic lids and bottle caps that would then be recycled and made into picnic tables and benches that we would place around the K-12 campus. We are less than 50 pounds away from our goal of 1,100 pounds. So we have 1,100 pounds of plastic lids and bottle caps stored somewhere. I won't say where. And we should be getting those items relatively soon. Also, middle school athletics, we've had some success on the wrestling mats as well. We were the NEA champions and EOWL runners-up. Individual place winners at EOWL were Dominic Bailey, who placed 1st, Eddie Stackwitz, who placed 3rd, Will Gehring placed 5th, Gary Landsberger was 6th, and Anthony Nespeka was 7th. And all of our 4 basketball teams are participating in tournament play this evening. And I think our 8th grade girls are well on their way to win. So the 8th grade girls are in the finals, and
7th grade is still playing.
Okay, so they're all 4 playing tonight, and hopefully they all advance to the finals. So that's it from the middle school.
Thank you. Mr. Pagnotta, do you have anything for tonight?
All good maintenance and technology, except for now that the Winter Olympics are over in the middle school, no more snow.
We agree. Okay. Anything from our legislative liaison?
Yes. Under a new bill signed by DeWine, Ohio, high school students will be required to take a financial literacy course. So next year, financial literacy course is going to be added to the curriculum. The students will be taught lessons that cover everything from taxes, interest rates, and loans, and basically you can check on the ODE for everything that's going to be covered.
Okay, anything from our student achievement liaison?
No.
So I'll move on to my update. Just like we said, we really haven't been able to report out because January meeting's always a little long. As we know this month, and Mr. Zolik kind of referred us back to all of our snow, our district has officially met its 5 calamity days. Just as our neighboring schools have had to pivot and move to remote learning, we will also be doing that if we do have to have any more school days that will close. I will make a parent phone call through a one call and make sure all the parents are aware of this. I worked with the administration last week, and then they worked with their staffs on putting together a remote learning schedule. We understand we can't expect kids to sit for 7 hours in front of a computer, so just like last year, they put together some activities that were already preloaded, some one-on-one FaceTime, definite time for teachers to be able to connect with the kids if the kids need it, but it's kind of a little bit more varied than a regular school day. The other next is going on, if you'll see on the agenda, open enrollment. I am going to ask the board to approve that. Mr. Nero and I, as he already mentioned, we've had a couple conversations with individuals who were part of the process of putting together the new funding formula. Basically, the long and short of it was we were advised, to maintain open enrollment, not to use it to increase your school enrollment, but just to maintain if there's an empty seat, it's more for those purposes. So one of the concerns we had prior, not knowing what the funding formula was going to do to us, it was unclear how open enrollment was, and as Mr. Nero just said, we're getting funded for the students sitting here now. It's not just about where they're coming from, it's the students being educated. So per this individual's advice and some other information and data we've looked at, I am asking for you to approve that on the agenda. And again, just like last year, we did open enrollment, but we first look at class sizes. We look at class need. There was a couple classes last year that maybe had a higher academic need, so we didn't take any more kids in there because we didn't want to take away from the students who are here. So again, it's to maintain, it's not to increase our enrollment. So, our district is part of the Mahoning Valley Business Advisory Council. I sit on this council. The mission of the BAC is to advise, support, and empower educators in delivering the instruction and experiences to students needed to develop relevant, in-demand employment skills as part of their academic and technical preparation. Every year we approve this contract that we have to, we do this yearly, but what I want to draw attention to is I've updated the, county sent the updated agendas, so they summarize what happens every month, what they've done for us. And I've done that on the website, it's on our website at the very top, the BAC, so you can kind of look through there and see the various organizations they've brought to talk to schools or different programs or grants that maybe they've been able to secure for the area schools. I participated, and I believe a lot of the administrators as well, on the state report card webinar. Once again, ODE is changing the way that they're going to grade schools. More of it is kind of the way they're changing the percentages. They're doing stars instead of grades and different things. So they kind of did a quick overview without giving an actual solid example because we don't have a full report card this last year. So to pull the data and to actually try to articulate where this would place us, I cannot do yet. However, I do have a couple calls in. I want to try to dig into our data and kind of project where the changes will put our district so we can maybe make, if we need to make some changes to make sure we meet the new marks, we can do that before we get a report card. Part of the new funding formula I do want to highlight, gifted education has really grown. We have to do testing in 2 different grade levels. We do it 5th and 2nd, correct. All grade level, every student has to be tested for gifted. That is part of the law. And then any students are identified, we have to serve. So the state funding formula is actually adjusted, and we have received an increase in what we get for gifted funding. Now it's called restricted funding, so we only have certain things we can utilize that for, but professional development, any needs in the classroom, service support from our county, services to the students. So Mario and I also sat on that webinar to learn more about how funding-wise he can utilize the money and code it correctly, and we can start earmarking those funds to maybe help offset some other areas. The administration academic leadership team will be evaluating our professional development needs to ensure we are able to address the new changes in laws and focus on some other things coming down the pike besides financial literacy, the high quality student data for the teacher evaluation, dyslexia for the elementary grades, and as I said, gifted and the state report card changes as well. So we will be working as a team. We're going to put together, I've asked the administration to identify teachers. We had a small group of teachers that we already met with last year for professional development, so we're going to expand that a little bit and kind of develop a district leadership team to help steer us with all these changes. Quality student data, professional development. The high school and the middle school have been participating in focus groups to identify and develop high quality student data. Mr. Rowan, it's a big change. We used to go from like an end of the year test that the teachers would give, and that would be part of their evaluation ranking and score. So Mr. Rowan came up with the idea to utilize our support from our states, or from our ESC, and they've been working with small groups, like pulling all the math teachers down for half day and really working with them on how to identify or write high quality student data pieces, and then Mr. Zolik is now doing the same thing. So A, utilizing our county people pretty intensively, and B, getting them prepared for next year when they have to have this. That K-8 also has Ames Web Diagnostic. We've done our second diagnostic, so the teacher's going to be delving in more to see what students did grow from the first assessment to the second diagnostic. Anybody who's stagnant, they'll take a look at to decide, do they need tutoring, change the way they're instructing them, offer other services to make sure students are constantly growing. This past week, our semi-annual report was mailed to families and other school community members. Working with my secretary, I'm going to put together a link, and we're going to, through the one call, let people know, let others in the community, if they would like to be added to the mailing list, we're gonna put a place on the website so community members can put a link, put their address, so when we do these twice a year, they can also, and that'll get it out further into our community. I'm gonna be working with the leadership team that I mentioned in the administration. We also have a survey that's gonna go out, kind of questioning our parents to give us some insight based on our present strategic plan and see where we are with that, see what changes we need to meet. So that'll also go out in a one call this week. It'll have the 3 important things on there about that they need to know, and we will post that out as well. Then we'll take that data, we'll work as a team to see if we need to make changes, maybe start all over, reward ourselves for the things we've met, and then create new goals. And then again, I also just want to congratulate the state wrestling team. It was exciting to watch them on TV and to see the excitement, and then watch the community come welcome them back. And then I do just want to highlight Philip Naples next meeting. I've asked Mr. Rowan to ask Philip to come to our meeting. He performed at the Ohio Music Association All-State Honors Band on February 4th, so he was one of just a few that were selected, so I just want to highlight him at our next meeting. So that would be it.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of exciting things going on, and we appreciate you coming to share that with us. Next up, we have the agenda items. If Mrs. Carlson would like to go through
Sure.
those and go back through and vote.
Absolutely. I have that calendar on there. After we created the calendars, and probably a little bit of stress from the weather and Christmas hitting us, I was approached to possibly look at the calendar. Our Christmas breaks were extremely short. We kind of bookend them in the way the calendar fell. So working with the administration, we thought it would be good to maybe, if we give them one more day at the break, we added it to the beginning of the calendar. So anybody who had the end of the year planned with graduation parties and all that is not affected. It also does not impact when our graduation can be. So it's the adjustments at the start. So the teacher report day will be on the Friday. Students will actually go a full week that first week instead of 4 days. So that's what I'm asking for the 2 years to be exactly the same, because calendar date is only one off for both calendars. High school curriculum guide. We have a couple changes. I shared that with you. One of them is the financial literacy. The other one is a math class that I just drew a blank on. Quantitative reasoning, I believe, is that one. And then there was, I think those were the 2 big things that are added into additional courses that we will be offering at the high school level. And then the next thing is, every year we need to renew the Title I Federal Programs Board policy. Nothing changes in it, but it's just to say that we service students through federal programs of Title I. This policy is basically shows how we do that by diagnostic tests that they do at the elementary, identify students who need, service them through our Title I. Just needs to be done every year. We need to change the date so it could be in compliance for audited. Open enrollment resolution, as I mentioned, this is asking that the board approve open enrollment again this year, just as we did last year. We will mail letters out tomorrow to our resident or our present open enrollment students so they can let us know if they are not coming back. And then Jen Lane, my secretary, will post the date for the new to come pick up packets and the date they have to be returned that we'll start. I believe it will be, I think she said March 1st they'll be available, 21st they have to be returned. But she will post that on the website for sure, in case we made some adjustments to that. South Range High School speech and debate team will be heading to state competition, so they asked me to put approval on the board for them to travel to the state meet on March 3rd through the 5th. They will be staying at the Hilton Gardens in Worcester. And then approve the tilling lease with Less and Less. Last year we had this lease created when we purchased the new piece of property north of the board office. Mr. Less was already tilling it, maintained the contract with him, so that is just a renewal of that. CCP Kent State MOU. This is every year we have to do a memorandum of understanding with the schools that service our CCP students. Kent State one is included, they get that out really quick. We have students who attend Kent State Salem as well as Mrs. Fishel. We have our Kent State courses here in-house as well. Ohio High School membership, this is a yearly renewal so that we will be part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And then we have 2 requisitions. One of them is Ames Web, which is the diagnostic we mentioned. This past year we were part of a grant through the county, and the grant paid for the middle school portion. So we never got the invoice for the elementary and it came late. So because they sent us an invoice, we're asking permission to pay this out of order. And then the other one is for one of our athletic coaches. We received the reimbursement, this was for the track state meet. We received it after the fiscal year closed, so we're asking permission to reimburse the athletic coach who was in attendance for those events. Anything to add to those? The next one we have some new or adjusted federal grants. Towards the end of, I'd say end of fall, beginning of winter, we received some funds for individuals, IDEA, special education, through the ESSER grant. So it's additional COVID money earmarked solely for students with special needs, as well as our preschool. So we can use some of these funds to offset some of our preschool costs from the county, and also needed supplies maybe for different classrooms for servicing our students. So I'm asking you to approve that. That's one of our new ones. It wasn't on the list of the other ones. State grant. The state put out a new transportation grant, so we were awarded $180,000. Now, there are some kind of restrictions on it. We have to buy with that 4 buses over 2 years. So basically it's $45 a bus. So it's almost 50% of the cost of a bus. So we can buy, to use that money, we have to pay for 2 full buses. Basically they're paying for 2. So we are looking at our COVID money to see what's still left. If you remember, we already earmarked a little bit for buses for the 2 that you already approved. So we're gonna look and see if we can shift a little bit more at least to help with this next set, so we're not taking it out of our general fund or our PI money. Johnson Controls, this is the company, they come and test our fire alarms and make sure that everything functions. So this is the yearly contract that we have with them. Access is our A-site, our oversight. They do much more than what these 3 contracts are, but they offer our internet, all of our different web type technology applications, and our voice service. They're also a huge asset for our fiscal side but these are the 3 contracts. These are yearly renewals. They've, ever since Access was created, so we renew these yearly, and these are for the next school year. I do sit on the Access board, so anytime there are changes or if we have fee increases, I'm a part of that. And then that would be it.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on those items? I know I had checked with you about the busing. You know, we've talked over the last couple of years. It's been a while since we've bought a new bus other than the one that was in an accident. And I feel like it's a good opportunity. It's going to be rare for us to find a chance that somebody's going to make that buy one get one free deal for us, basically. So I can understand the necessity there, especially in a district our size.
They did, just to let everybody know, they did research off of the reports that our transportation director has to submit. And they basically earmarked the school districts that had buses that were a certain age and had certain miles on them. And then that's how they determined. So they kind of went through the data and the research kind of telling you, yeah, you have 4, you need to probably. So we have to trade in 4 road buses with those to replace those.
If we don't have any questions for that, we can move into public participation for the agenda items. We just ask that you state your name and your address, and we will limit the time to 2 minutes, please.
Rich Renchak, 115 Longview, North Lima. Congratulations to the new board members. Good luck. I think you've got you're in a good system. The system's in a good place. I'm happy with it. The one issue that I've never been happy with ever since we first imposed it was open enrollment. So when it showed up on tonight's agenda, I just wanted to come as a resident and speak out again against open enrollment. My question to Mr. Nero, if you don't mind me directing it to him, is you guys, when you were talking about open enrollment, said that the funding formula is all changing. Before, we would get about $6,000 a kid, whatever state money, let's say it was a Boardman kid, Boardman got $2,500 from the state. That $2,500 would fall, and then the rest would be coming out of the Boardman taxpayer. Now you said the state is funding open enrollment directly, and I believe we're guaranteed that $6,000 for the next 2 fiscal years or something like that. Where do you see this going down the pike? Because I could easily see where the state pulls the rug out and says, we're not going to give you the 6 anymore. We're just going to give you the state guarantee. And at that point, I communicated with Beth earlier today about open enrollment, and she said, you know, in looking at the 5-year financial forecast, which shows a fairly large deficit in a couple of years, and you said that due to a lot of retirements, that will do that. I think now you're at a crossroads. Do you continue to use open enrollment as a funding source for the district? Or do we start to take those retirements, accept them, and not replace them and downsize the district to where it should be? That's what Poland's done. That model's kind of worked for them. I can tell you right now, I don't know what your property tax, well, like Liz, you live in my neighborhood, so I know what your property taxes look like. But with the recent assessments done by Mr. Meacham, I believe he has another assessment coming in 2023, they're gonna reassess it. You know, there's very little appetite for a new levy, for an additional levy. If it were put on the ballot, I see no way in which that's going to pass. So I think you need to look carefully at whether, when somebody retires, are you gonna replace them? Or are we gonna allow them to, you know, not be replaced and downsize and more closely meet our enrollment? Because we have about 1 of every 3 kids now is an open enrollment student, not a South Range resident student.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay. Can we go back through and we'll vote on these agenda items? The first being the updated academic calendar for the 22 through 24 school years. If I could have a motion.
I'll motion.
Terry moves.
Second.
Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the 22-23 high school curriculum guide. If I could have a motion.
A motion.
Any motions?
Second.
Shelley seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The yearly review for Title I federal programs. If I have a motion for that. Liz moves.
A second.
Amy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The open enrollment resolution for the 21-22 school year? 22-23. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion for the resolution.
I can motion. That was did. Sorry, I motion.
That's okay. Amy motions. And a second.
I'll second.
Sorry, was that Terry?
Yeah.
Terry seconds. And that we're going to take a roll call.
Elizabeth Johnson,
Yes.
Terry Lally,
Yes.
Shelley Calucci,
Yes.
Amy White,
Yes.
Brian Padwell.
Yes. Next being the South Range High School speech and debate team trip. We could have a motion.
Motion.
Elizabeth moves.
Second.
Shelley?
Yep.
Shelley seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The farm lease with Less and Less Farms. If we could have a motion.
A motion.
Amy moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The CCP MOU with Kent State for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Amy moves.
Second.
Elizabeth. Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. OHSA membership for the 22-23 school year.
I move.
Shelley moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the requisitions for Ames Webb and Mr. Bush.
I'll move.
Terry moves.
Second.
Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Cut off here. The federal grant for the ESSER and ARP IDEA grant.
So moved.
I'm sorry, was that
That was me.
Amy moves. I know how Ralph felt last year. And a second.
Second.
That was Liz.
Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the state grants for the transportation.
So moved.
Liz,
Liz moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The Johnson Controls Service Agreement.
Shelley moves.
Thank you.
Terry will second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Access contract renewal.
Liz, so moved.
Liz moves.
Amy seconds.
Amy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And at this time, we can open the floor up for public participation for non-agenda items. Same rules as agenda items.
Once again, Rich Ferenchak, 115 Longview, North Lima. I still don't understand why we have snow days. In light of COVID, in light of the fact that we have learned how to do remote, my son's senior year, your son's senior year is a third remote. I would love to have it explained to me why these kids are still sitting home in their jammies watching cartoons all day instead of in front of a computer monitor learning and being instructed. We have the technology, we know how to do it, and I think to not have these kids being instructed and to keep using snow days is a disgusting waste of the taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. Okay, now on to personnel. Mrs. Carlson.
Okay. We have a lot of ins and outs going on this month, so please bear with me. The first one, I would like to grant a 3-year contract to Steve Rowan as the high school principal to extend him from 22 to 2025. I would also ask that the board approve the resignation of April Hayberger, Accounts Payable Student Activity Secretary, effective February 11th, 2020. Asking that the board approve the retirement of Jenny Benson, High School Intervention Specialist, effective May 31st, 2022. Also to approve the retirement of Sherry Lewis, Director of Student Services, effective July 31st, 2022. Approve the retirement of Jeff Cesare, High School Band Choir Director and Music Instructor, effective August 31st, 2022. And approve the retirement of Patty Yoakum, Elementary Teacher, effective June 30th, 2022. I do just want to take a pause and highlight that we will later in like a month or two have them all here, and we will speak about all their accolades and what they've meant to our district. So, I would also like to ask that the board accept the resignation of Jessica Beck. We recently hired Jessica as an educational aide. Unfortunately, for family reasons, she felt bad because she had to take some days off. She's going to step back to being a staff and stepped out of that position, so she turned in a resignation. And then approve Alicia Lowry as educational aide for a total of 13 hours at the middle school. She's replacing Victoria Wellington, who had to resign because of college. Approve Diane Croston, educational aide, for the replacement of Jessica Beck. Approve Nick Opritza as the purchase service for the high school show choir choreographer for the 21-22 school year. He is paid a flat rate of $600 and does have an active pupil activity permit on file. Approve Carrie Munson, Accounts Payable Student Activity Secretary, effective February 28th, 2022 through the remainder of the fiscal year of 2022. And then we're asking that the board also approve Carrie at a rate of $20 an hour between now and then for any professional development or training that we might be able to get her, whether it be in the evening if she's able to go before her actual contract starts. And then also Heather Livesay completed her teaching degree, so we're also adding her on as a teaching sub. So if we're really short, Mr. Matos will pull her out as an aide and have her cover a classroom. So please approve her as a daily sub or a substitute as needed. We have 2 additional educational aid substitutes, Kate Frank, and as I said, Jessica's moving back to being a substitute. Supplemental coaching for the 22-23 school year. So we usually do the fall head coaches at this time so they can start working moving into next year. So Bill Beaver, high school cross country, Kelsey Malenik, varsity girls soccer, TJ Irons, high school volleyball, James Hannick, high school golf, Keith Dranowski, weightlifting, Dan Yeagley, varsity football, Amy Shane, high school cheerleading, and Zach Stamp, boys varsity soccer. For this remainder of the school year, for this spring, we have the following coaches: Ryan Miller and Dan Mangina. They will both be splitting the 7% supplemental for assistant baseball coaches. Gianna Rowan, assistant softball coach. Mark Bush, varsity boys track coach. Joe Brooks, assistant girls track coach. David Brock, assistant boys track coach. Staples in the way. Alexis Roach, right? Yeah, Alexis Roach, assistant softball coach. Bethany Crouch, middle school girls track coach. Jacob Zinni, middle school boys track coach. And Matthew Brooks, middle school boys track coach. Jacob and Matthew will be splitting it. They're both in college, so it kind of helps them out. Approve the following as unpaid volunteers for the remainder of this school year for the spring sports. Donnie Farron, girls softball volunteer. Melissa Starkey, softball volunteer. Dawn DeCellis, baseball volunteer. And Dion Miller, baseball volunteer. Approve the following teachers for the grade 3 and 4 gap and test prep after school program that Mr. Matos mentioned. They will be paid out of the ESSER ARP3 funds to help close the gaps. Tracy Martz, Mary A., Elaine Brincaccio, and Debbie Ombrecht. The ticket takers, basically we realized when we approved them in the fall, we had the word fall in the sentence and they should have been the whole year. I misunderstood Donnie Farron. So all those are already been approved. I just need to change the wording and have them approved for the whole school year. And that would be it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns as far as personnel?
Yes, ask Carrie to come tonight. Just wanted to highlight, she's coming from Farmers National Bank. She's been there for quite a few years, held a few positions. Just during the interview process with her, positive attitude and just her experience, I think she'll be a great asset to the district.
Great. Thank you and welcome. Back, right?
That's right.
Okay, so if we could have a motion to approve the personnel we just went over. Liz moves. And a second.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. And I believe we're doing a roll call.
Elizabeth Johnson.
Here.
Terry Lally.
Yes.
Shelley Calucci.
Yes.
Amy White.
Yes.
Brian Bagwell.
Yes. Motion carries. With that, I believe we can adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.